girls are being told it's a clump of cells. It's not real. Oh, if they don't breathe, it's not. Girls are being told that. So, of course, they're going to have such a callous, like, reaction to it. Because that's what
Yeah.
they're being told. That's what they've been told their whole life. Planned Parenthood comes in, like, fifth grade, explains to them X, Y, and Z. All right. That's what they're told their whole life. So,
Yeah.
they're not going to get it. She's not, and I still don't think she gets it. Like, at least in the video,
Yeah.
because she got it. You don't value life. This is kind of the next, like, of course, I'll just throw it in it's inconvenient for me. I'll just put it in the trash can. Can't relate to cancel culture, hookup culture, or victim culture.
Well, neither could we. We created this platform for those other girls. Girls like us who want to give a different perspective from a Christian and conservative worldview.
We talk about life, work, relationships, pop culture, and everything in between. So let's be those other girls that just don't talk about culture,
but change culture. Hello! Oh,
hello. Thank you. You are listening to Those Are the Girls with Mallory and Friends. I'm Mallory.
I'm Freeman.
And we are changing culture and bringing back traditional values. Hello, everybody. It has been a minute. Really crazy schedule last week. Bunch of stuff going on. But we're back. We are back. We're going to have an episode this Saturday. We'll have an episode Tuesday. We're back. And excuse my voice. Don't know what's going on. I literally go to work and come home and somehow I have caught like a cold or something. But if you hear an extra sound coming from my end, that's my humidifier. I took some vitamin C and then I have some tea. So hopefully I'll get over this. And typically, knock on wood, like I don't have colds that long. Like this is technically, I started feeling kind of like last night. So I feel like unless it's something major, I'll be fine. What's today? I'll be fine by Friday.
That's
I might
good.
have one more day of this and then I'll be fine. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know where it came from.
So what kind of vitamin C do you take? Do you just eat an orange or like what do you do?
So it's these vitamin C fizz powder stuff my mom gets.
Oh yeah,
from
is it like
Sprouts.
orange?
So I actually hate orange flavored drinks, by the way, fun fact.
Oh.
So I like there's a cherry one that I drink.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And, not 100% sure how much of it is real and how much of it is a placebo, but
Totally.
Oh, you know what? I just thought of this. I did go to the nutritionist on Monday.
How'd
And I
that go?
wonder, it went well. I'm back to, losing weight again. I'm back on the diet. So I also am wondering if that kind of has a little bit more to do with, well, no, but I'm eating healthier. But
Huh.
I did go to the nutritionist, so maybe someone had something, I picked it up there.
Could
Other than that,
be.
I've been going to
Doctor's
work.
offices are full of it.
Yeah. No, seriously. Oh, and actually now that I'm like working it out loud, she did cough and say, "Oh, it's allergies."
Ah!
Like the nurse that did the like vitals and stuff. So
How
I
is
wonder if
coughing
she was-
allergies?
I've had coughing through allergies before.
I feel like it's
And-
sneezing though.
I've had it through funny story, the first semester I lived in New Jersey and the first couple of weeks I moved to DC when I did my internship, I had allergies and the one in DC, I was coughing a lot. And I went to the nurse at the Supreme Court and I was like, I'm feeling so terrible. And she's like, you're fine. I'm like, but my throat, she's like, it's because you're coughing. And I was like, but my throat, she's like, you're fine. So you can cough and it can hurt your
hilarious.
throat, but it's allergies. Yeah.
Wow.
She had no sympathy for me, but whatever.
Dang.
Yeah. That's the healthcare you get. No, let me stop.
Oh gosh.
Supreme
Okay.
Court. Anyway, so how have you been?
Well, things are good. We just celebrated our 1-year wedding anniversary, which is awesome.
Woo, yay.
Yeah, they say the first year of marriage is the hardest, but I think we're still totally in honeymoon phase. So
Aw.
I'm like, is it gonna get harder or am I just gonna be like this forever? So that's been
It-
really fun.
It can be like that forever. Like I've heard people say stuff like that before. They're like, so I've heard people say that first year, oh my God, we said we were going to divorce.
Yes, that's
Every
what
other
I
day, it's
heard.
so hard. But I've also heard people say, I've heard people say stuff like, our first year really wasn't that bad. Like we were kind of still on cloud nine. I think I
Exactly.
heard someone say like it didn't really get quote unquote hard till like the 5th year. I've heard that too. I mean, eventually there's gonna be ups and downs because that's
Of
just
course,
life.
and there are.
But like, stay in the honeymoon phase as long as you can. There's nothing wrong with that.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't question it. Just embrace it.
Do you have any advice? Even though you've only been married for 1 year, and I low key hate when people do this, but I'm gonna ask you anyway. Do you have any advice for girls? How about this? Any advice for girls who are going to be getting married this year?
Um, I think do what your, church is inviting you to do. A lot of times your church is going to have pretty good advice as far as the importance of prayer together, the importance of, fasting together, the importance of volunteering together, and ultimately using your love of your spouse, your love within that relationship for the greater good of those around you. Because ultimately, if that love is only going between you two and it's not fruitful love, you're not using your relationship to better your community, to better your families, then it's useless. So definitely refer to your church, and they're definitely going to give you some great advice.
Love that. Love that.
Yeah,
Um, so for me, I had, like I said, like it was just like a really busy week last week. Communion prayers.
of course.
But I will say this. I have to share this, and I've been meaning to text you about it, but whatever, I'll just tell you now.
Okay.
I've been listening to the First Degree podcast. Have you heard of that one?
The what?
It's called The First Degree. It's true crime.
Oh no, you had me on Crime Junkie. Is there a
I
different one I'm
know.
supposed to be watching?
Well, there's like three or four more, but I'll get you on those in a
Oh
second.
no. Oh gosh, Crime Junkie is already like a full-time job.
Well, what about, have you been listening to the Crime Weekly one too? I sent you Crime
Yes.
Weekly as well. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so let me tell you really quick about the First Degree. So the difference between the First Degree and all these other ones is every episode they have someone, so it's a first degree to whoever was murdered or is missing. So it'll be like I'm trying to think of I'll
Wait, the first degree, like they were murdered in the first degree?
no, no, no. So like I'm trying to think of something that doesn't sound weird to say. You know what? I'm just going to use Melanie for example.
Oh,
God forbid anything happens to Melanie. Melanie, if you're listening, I love you. I'm just using you as an example. I pray for your safety every night. So let's say something happened to Melanie. I would come on the podcast because I'm a first degree, so like I know her. So they
got
have
it.
people who, even though I'm not
Got it.
family, it might be a friend, it might be someone who went to high school with them, something like that.
Mhm.
So like,
Mhm.
yeah, so it's called the first degree. So every episode they have that. Well, they're doing one on the Long Island serial killer. So there's apparently a serial killer on Long Island.
Right
Yeah,
now?
currently they have not found him, and they're doing.
Oh,
I know. I'll have to send it to you, and I'll link it for everybody to listen to it. And well, let me tell you, the reason why I'm bringing it up is if you know anything about me, you know I am always like, there's a problem. All right, so what do I got to do now? So it's this movie, Hustlers. Did you ever watch that? It's
yes.
the one about the okay. At the end, you can text Aaron. You guys know my friend Aaron. You know Aaron. So Aaron and I went. At the end, I was like, so how are we going to do a strippers ministry? Like, who do we need to talk
Literally.
to? Do you think like so? Like
Literally.
that's how my brain works. Like, so listening to this
Same.
so you get it, you get it. So like
Yeah.
listening to this podcast, all of the people who are murdered are strippers, and the part of the problem was that people weren't, or no, I'm sorry, not strippers, they were prostitutes. Part of the problem
Oh.
was the police officers, the shit, all the people in charge weren't really taking it that seriously. Like the news wasn't really reporting on it because they live a high risk lifestyle. And
Oh.
there's an organization that works to help them, and that this podcast is like promoting, and they're doing a really good job, I will say. So they call them sex workers, which
Mhm.
I personally don't want to normalize that because I think calling them sex workers makes it seem as if it's work, and I think we need to fight back against that because it's not work, it's prostitution, and most people don't want to do it. Like listening to these women's stories, most of them,
Of course.
I think none of them do. I was having this
Not your
conversation with my
first
brother.
choice.
Yeah, I was having this conversation with my brother. He's like, I'm sure there's, and I'm like, no. He's like, I'm like, no, there is no woman who wants to do it. And he's like, you're saying this from a perspective. I'm like, no. So anyway, so these, they have an organization that helps them, but I was looking at the organization and it's good that someone is helping.
Of course.
But I really, things like, we need tangibles, but you also need, there's a spiritual component to it of like your heart and like everything that's going on. And I just don't know if that's necessarily the organization you should go to. So I was also just looking up like, okay, is there like other
Mhm.
organizations that help people who are coming out of that. So hopefully, if you guys are listening, you know someone who does. I'd love to have someone come on the podcast and talk about it.
Mhm.
And specifically Christian. And
Of
not saying
course.
that like people who aren't Christian can't do it, but like same with human trafficking. I really do, and same with abortion. Recovery and things like that. I really do want people who are Christians and who can talk about it from that perspective because I mean, aside from the fact that this is a Christian conservative podcast, I truly believe that like you really do need to have that spiritual component to it.
Of course. Yeah, we're
So anyway,
three-dimensional human beings. We don't just need physical needs met. We don't just need mental needs met. We need spiritual needs met as well. Literally, we will die if our spiritual needs are not met. I mean, children die all the time from not getting comfort enough. You know, it's pretty clear that we need spiritual guidance and spiritual comfort, so I totally agree.
that's
Although
such a good point.
I think it's obviously much better than nothing if,
Right.
we can't have it exactly how we'd want it. I would rather us have something than nothing, of course.
Exactly, exactly. So, you know, I'm not knocking this organization. You guys can look it up and see what it is. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying, like, I just wish it
Yeah.
had another component. So, if someone listening is a part of an organization that does that, I'd really love to. Because, I mean, listening to the stories, it's so sad because at the end of the day, one of the girls' sister was the connection, and she was like, she really hated how it was just said, all they talked about was that she was a prostitute. And you know what? That's a fact. She was a prostitute, but she was saying she was also a mother. She was
Mhm.
also a good
Mhm.
friend. She was also a
Mhm.
sister. And then the
Mhm.
news really didn't discuss that aspect of it. And I think that's also part of the reason why it took them so long to find these other people. And like, it's so crazy. I'll link it for you guys to see. And
Wow.
then, you know, once again, what are we going to do? So we can all brainstorm. We can talk about it on the app and figure out like what are some things that we can do. All right, ladies, it has been a minute. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? Oh, let me do some announcements. We're gonna have by the time this comes out, the new merch won't be out, but we will have some merch for the summer, some really cute things, and something fun to wear for 4th of July. So hold your horses, don't buy your 4th of July outfit just yet, because those are the girls will have it on our website. We should have it by the Monday after this is released. We also have these cute sweatshirts. Like I said, I'm like fighting a cold, so I'm like wearing so whenever I'm like fighting a cold, I always wear like sweats. I don't know if that's like the right thing to do, but that's what I do. I try to make
No, it's
myself as warm
comforting.
as possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm wearing that. I have my mug. That's available. We have an app. Join the app. Join the discussion. I really the idea behind the app is just a way for us to to have discussion about the different topics. If you have ideas for different things, just kind of like to just grow our community. So join the app. We have some really good discussions in there. Also, if you have not already, you should join the Patreon. The Patreon is going to help us to continue to do the podcast, help us to pay for good equipment, help us to pay for good lighting, good editing, and just to take the podcast to the next level. And there's a lot of things that I want to do this year that we really need financial help with. And when you're joining the Patreon, we will have more content for you, A. And then B, you're also helping spread the message. And I know that kind of sounds like weird, like what message? But like just letting other girls know that there are other girls out there. And, you know, some of the topics we talk about, sometimes at the beginning, I'll say things like, oh, this is a pop culture podcast, not like other pop culture podcasts. And the more that, you're helping fund this and helping us to do things to like marketing and like get the news out there, we can get some of our clips about like abortion that people are not normally hearing. They're not going to hear the truth all the time. And when you help fund that, you're helping us get our information out. That's also why it's so important for you to rate the podcast, because the higher you're rated up, the more they're going to advertise and push it out to just new people who are looking for a podcast. So that's that. Are you ready for some tea? A lot of stuff has happened. We have a lot of things to discuss. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
Okay, so the first story is brought to you by the Pink Rose, and it is my jewelry store. You can get super cute jewelry. This necklace, you guys let me know how you feel about this necklace. It may or may
Really
not be
cute.
available. May or may not be available soon. Oh, I'm doing that. And these earrings. Um, we have super cute jewelry on there, and 10% is going to my local pregnancy resource center. I'm going to be switching it up eventually, like other life affirming businesses, but right now it's going to be my local pregnancy resource center. If you guys have been following along with what's going on in North Carolina, the pregnancy centers in North Carolina really need it. And the one that I'm going to be donating to is near a college. And I think that's very crucial to have pregnancy centers there and to have them, to be able to reach out to college students and to be able to do other things. Because some pregnancy centers are able to get on campus and able to get print materials to have. And the way they'll be able to do that is from funds. So 10% of your purchase is going to go to that. You should go to shopthepinkrose.com, and then you can use the code othergirls10 and get 10% off your purchase. Okay, so our first story. Okay, so last TCAP, we talked a little bit about alpha red pill men, and
the conversation got wild. You guys
yes,
should listen to it. It started so many conversations between me and Andy, between me and Mallory, like between me and my mom. Like it
in the
is,
app, a couple people commented on the app, like
yes,
it's, and I've been wanting to ignore this because at first I did think that it was just kind of like a niche part of the internet that me and some people like saw and we kind of could read through it or whatever, but it's not. It's grown.
it is.
Unfortunately, it has gotten
Yeah.
so big. The Whatever podcast, just my 2 cents on that. I think it is the stupidest thing on earth. What he does is he gets girls who just are not as well versed in the topic, to, and then brings on men who are very polished and they do this for a living to like beat them in conversations. So I hate the podcast. I do not support it. Low key love you, Lila. She has listened to the podcast before. I don't know if she's listening now, but low key hate that Lila made me try to Google, because obviously I'm gonna watch her episode. So low key mad at you for that, but I forgive you because you did an amazing job if you're
She
listening.
did.
And I'm gonna play a clip from it because I do think it kind of perfectly encompasses what is wrong with alpha male red pill when it comes to us as Christians. You know, if
Yeah.
you're a girl that has decided you kind of want to lean into that,
Hmm.
um, then, that's between you, God, and whatever men you decide to sleep with. But those of us who are Christians and who are looking for a good, strong Christian man, which it's starting to feel, or few and far in between, this clip completely encompasses this. So I wanted to talk about it. It was a while ago, but I feel like not a lot of people are talking about this clip. They're talking about another clip, but I think this clip is more interesting. So give me 1 second.
If you have only one place in your heart for one woman, or you want to have one woman in your heart, I think you said, why don't you just commit to one and choose to be faithful to her?
I'm just not wired that way. I spent my whole 20s trying to fix myself. Thought
You're
something was
made
wrong
of
with me.
self-control. You work out, you do business, you can possess your own power and
It's just
you
not.
direct
it's
it
just-
the way you
it's
want to
just not
direct
how I
it.
am. It's not how I am.
Do you think that might be a limited mindset?
I think it's none of your business, but I don't want you to think I'm triggered by you. I'm not. I saw somebody say that, and I think that's interesting. I think you're annoying. But I'm not. You know what I'm saying? No, you are. You're annoying in like this goody two shoes type way, and that's fine. I'm gonna live my life on my terms, unapologetically, like truly. So you can ask me this 85 different ways. At the end of the day, I'm gonna walk out of here the same man.
Can I ask you one more question?
Okay.
That was a non-answer.
Right. So sorry, I like literally just coughed right into the microphone. I'm sorry, y'all. It was definitely a non-answer. My favorite part, so two things really, sorry, I'll go first, I guess. So my two favorite parts was when she literally put that on is that unlimited mindset? I want that on t-shirt. Love that. That was so good. And
Mm-hmm.
then how, if you look at his body language, I'll link it so you guys can watch the clip. He is like away from her. And if you watch the full interview, I'm curious if they talked before because he seemed like he had already hate and disdain for her from
Totally.
the very beginning. And I don't
He
know,
probably knew her well before this even was recorded. Like,
maybe. I guess so, because like, I mean, he had an attitude with her the entire time. And I think like the idea that, oh, I can't control myself, I have to, I mean, if you listen to the full interview, he said he might have 8 different families, but as long as there's like one man in charge, then everything's fine. That's that attitude of not being able to have self-control.
yes.
That is the problem. And sure, men might have, I don't know the research on that, if men um are supposed to be having sex with tons of other people. I don't think that's right. In the Bible, that's not what it says. But let's say that research is true. Okay, let's say we find that out. One of the fruit of the spirits is self-control. God has already told us, this is back to the holy versus happy. God has already told us one spouse. So then use your self-control in one spouse. Now, I'm saying this as someone who's not married. I don't have like this alpha male, sex drive that like, so I can't sit here and be like, yeah, you stop that. Because I can't come at it from that perspective. So I don't know how that feels, but I'm just saying, like, at the end of the day, if we go back to the holy versus happy, the Bible has told us self-control and it tells us one person. So
Well, I wanna even go farther than that. I mean,
let's do it.
in this case, holiness does equal happiness, and in most
True.
cases, holiness equals happiness.
That's
Like
true
he
too.
does not look happy.
No.
He is not choosing holiness. Like we constantly choose unholiness, and sure, you might be speaking about temporary happiness, Mallory, which I agree. That is very persuasive and it can make us choose unholiness, but long term, holiness does equal happiness. So
That's true.
I would even like push the envelope a little bit. And again, like you said, Lila did such a good job. I think that she
Amazing
twisted
job.
his narrative. I think she twisted his narrative of, well, aren't you a successful businessman? Like, haven't you proven that you have self-control? Haven't you proven that you're in power, that you're in control? Or are you not? Or are you superficial, narcissist, misogynist? Or are you out of control? Right? These are things that she questioned, and clearly he got uncomfortable with.
Yeah. The whole time he like had this terrible attitude, and I was like, oh my goodness, like what is going on here? I think the other aspect of this just goes to show, and I think we posted this on the Instagram the day that we recorded this. When you are looking for a spouse, what you need to be looking for is someone who is tuned into God, who cares more about what God's opinion is, who is leaning into that, as opposed to someone who is just like, um, you know, trad or just alpha. And I think the problem, and I was having a conversation, in a group chat that we're in, we're having a conversation about this. And the problem
Yeah.
is guys like this, like I have seen a couple of his stuff. 'Cause I'm like, who is this guy? I've seen a couple of his stuff. Sure, a broken clock is right twice a day. Sure, men should pick up after themselves. It probably does make sense for a man to have a suit. Let me tell you, if you're a guy listening, personally, I love a guy in a suit. Like it completely, like that spins the
It's
episode
the
of
shoes for me. It's the
the
shoes for
shoe.
me.
Okay, full suit. Like if you're wearing a suit, you can almost like that's that. So
Game
sure,
over.
game is over. Sure, guys should do that. There's some guys out there who aren't showering and who don't wear deodorant. Yes, please do that. So once again, a broken clock is right twice a day, but it's the
Exactly.
further stuff. It's he is, and he won't tell us fully what his whole deal is. So here's the other thing too. He could be renting women like we talked about in the other episode. He could just be renting women for pictures and stuff.
Oh,
Um
I'm sure he is. No
yeah,
doubt.
so I don't know his full story, but the idea of like you can have as many families as you want. Oh yeah, I have tons of kids. My daughters are going to know. Oh, and then in the same episode, sorry, this just made me remember this. In the same episode, he said something like, "I'm not going to simp for my daughter." What? You're not going to simp for your daughter? Like,
Like get her flowers, like
y-
tell her she's beautiful, take her
right?
out.
And Ruslan was talking about this episode too, and he was like spoken like someone who doesn't have a daughter. I was like, yeah, for sure. Because that's I don't that to me that was crazy to say simp for you're not going to simp for your daughter, and why would you even use the word simp toward your child? So that's kind of
It's
weird.
almost like he's overcompensating. Like it almost
Hmm.
is kind of like it gives me this idea that if some like honestly, I would not be surprised if this man was homosexual because of how
Okay.
much he was overcompensating and trying to prove his masculinity by not being gentle with his daughter. That to me shows you're overcompensating for something. And
Hmm.
another thing, a lot of these guys are giving me similar vibes as the early feminists and the sexual revolution
Yep.
because they were overcompensating for what was a problem. Yes, it was a problem that women were not being given equal treatment, but they overcompensated, right? Now, red pill alpha males are acknowledging, yes, there is a problem. Men are being emasculated, but we're going to overcompensate and we're going to become extreme misogynist.
Yes. And that's how all of these movements are. There's a little bit of good stuff here, and the pendulum swings and they go all the way to the other side. That's, you nailed it. Red pill men are literally feminists. And that's the title. Red pill men are feminists. So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's that. You guys
Game
let us know
over. I think we can move on to the next story.
Yeah. Ladies, tell us what you think. Um, so our next story is brought to you by Rolling Stone. Um, and I thought this was interesting because I think this will be a good discussion. The Kelly Clarkson show is toxic behind the scenes, staffers say. According to 11 current and former employees, the talk show host is fantastic, but a number of the show's producers make employees' lives hell. One current and 10 former employees spoke to Rolling Stone under the condition of anonymity out of fear of retribution and say they're confident the talk show host doesn't have any sense of how unhappy employees are with working conditions. A second former employee adds, quote, I remember going up on the roof of the stage to cry, being like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Why am I putting myself through this? End quote. Former employees say the toxic behavior behind the scenes started with Duda, who shields Clarkson from what staffers say they're enduring because of the climate Duda created. Quote, I think Alex Duda is a monster. I have a friend who's an executive producer who warned me about taking this job because apparently she had done this on every show she's worked on, end quote. As for Clarkson, the current employee, as well as the 10 formers, are under the impression, I think that's the same thing. Oh no. Is under the impression that she doesn't know, some of whom say they've taken on other jobs, such as babysitting, dog walkers, and Uber Eats to pay their bills. They say there's a divide behind the scenes between staffers who are favored by executive and senior producers and those who aren't. Former employees are also frustrated there hasn't been a shift in the culture of the show, despite a number of HR complaints, and they worry the longer the behavior continues without repercussions, the worse it gets as the season goes on. So the question is, like, what is acceptable and what's not acceptable at work? Like, how much should you take when you're at a job? If you really need this job, should you be crying in the bathroom because of what your employer says? Or is that something that means you need to leave the job? What do you think?
Well, first of all, I would love to know like what Kelly Clarkson would say to this. I think that would be a real testament to her character,
I
whether or
think she
not
did
she would.
post about it. I
Oh,
can
what
look
did she
really quick.
say?
Keep up your thought and let me look real quick.
Okay, well, obviously, like my initial thoughts are that like this is awful. Nobody should have to experience this. We're in a first world country. We have um, rights as human beings and as employees, and of course, we should not have to endure this. You also have a freedom to come and go. You have the right to quit your job. That's also showbiz. Like that is a part of it. Now, financially, I think showbiz is very lucrative, and I think most people should be getting paid. Everyone should be getting paid decently.
Yeah.
That's disappointing to hear that there are people who are having to like dog sit in order to pay their bills when they're working in LA. Um, yeah, I think that's a really good question, Mallory. What is the line? I mean, of course, there's this narrative now that is hypersensitive, right? I mean, we all can be hypersensitive. I
Yeah.
think a lot of us like saying that's offensive or that's hurtful or that's triggering. And of course, there's truth to it, but also, are we being too sensitive?
Yeah.
Um,
Is it
I
something
I
to
don't
quit over?
I don't know what the situation was. I don't know what this Alex Duda has said or done, so I'm of course not making a statement on that. But also, like, we believe as Christians that people in power have a responsibility to those that they're overseeing, a
Hmm.
responsibility to be loving, caring, self-giving, um, all of these things. So I would just really love to know like what were the like actual things that were said and done, and that way I could give my give my opinion a little bit more substantive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And really quick, this is what Kelly Clarkson said. She said,
Okay.
"In my 20 years in the entertainment industry, I've always led with my heart and what I believe to be right. I love my team and find out that anyone is feeling unheard or disrespect on the show is unacceptable. I have always been and will continue to be committed to creating and maintaining a safe and healthy environment at the Kelly Clarkson Show as we prepare for a move to the East Coast. I'm more committed than ever to ensure that not only our team that is moving, but also our new team in New York is comprised of the best and kindness in the business." And then a little bit more, but it's
Okay,
essentially that.
that's great, but what does that mean? And I mean, I feel like that's probably a good PR opportunity for her to say, "This is
Right.
unacceptable. I am so shocked." Okay, that's great, but what are you going to do about it? You
Yeah.
know, that's my next question. It's good that she's at least acknowledging it publicly, but I would love to see the rubber hit the road a little bit.
Yeah. And it's the whole conversation. And the reason why I wanted to bring it up is because I am curious, like, where is the line? Because this whole conversation is interesting from both standpoints. So, as Kelly Clarkson of the thing, do you fire someone who, because clearly, from at least what I've read in the article, and you guys can read the article, I'll link it. This person has got lots of connections in showbiz. She has been working on multiple shows. So clearly, this
Hmm.
person is getting the stuff done. I'm not saying that that is okay for people to mistreat people, but I'm just saying, like, it's if
She's
all you're
desirable.
right, and if all you're seeing is how you actually do A, B, and C, she does it, and it's done an excellent work. What are you supposed to
Hmm.
think? But then at the same time, from the perspective of those who are being mistreated, it's like what is the what is
Yes.
mistreatment? I think that I don't know where the line is because also, if I'm being real and frank, we're in a recession. So you also just can't, I hate my job. I'm going to quit. You kind of can't do
Sure.
that. And so do you just put up with it? Especially, what if it's also your dream job? That's another thing, too. Like, if you were at your dream job and it turns out the people you're working with suck, do you
Or
quit?
exactly. Or what if you're on your way to your dream job and you're told this is
Yeah.
temporary? Someday you'll be the boss. Someday
Yeah.
you can make changes from the inside. By experiencing, by enduring this, you can actually, climb the ladder and make actual changes. Like, how much of that should you believe? How much of that should you not believe? I mean, I think we have pretty good rules. Of course, like, there are physical things you cannot do.
Right.
There are emotional things you cannot
Like,
do.
your boss should not be hitting you.
You know, but verbally, there's verbal abuse. I definitely think any kind of abuse is
Yeah.
unacceptable, and that's on the employer. Um, Anything more in more of a gray area, I don't know how much legally you can be supported, but I think spiritually, I mean, if something ultimately, if it's harming your relationship with God, with your family, with yourself, I think that's reason enough to consider leaving because ultimately we're not on this planet for money. We're not on this planet for comfort. We're on this planet to get to heaven.
Very good points. Very good points. Question about the verbal abuse. What would be an example of verbal abuse?
Geez, that's another hard question. And
I know.
especially proving that,
Yeah.
right? Like, I was alone with my boss and he called me the C word. Like, okay, did anybody hear it? Did you get it
Right.
recorded?
Right.
Okay, well, like, let me know if it happens again. I don't know what else HR would say, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's really tough. It's really
Yeah.
tough.
That's why you should just treat everybody kind. So then you
Yeah,
wouldn't have, and you can be hard. You can be a hard taskmaster.
totally.
That no one's against that because sometimes, like, that's what you need. Sometimes you need the person to come in and be like, this. I'll give an example. I was out with my friends and we needed to get someplace and we had like three cars and everyone was just kind of like talking and, oh no, you go there. And then I said, you guys, I'm so sorry. I'm about to be bossy. All right. One, two, three, this car, one, two, three, that car. And it got done. Someone has to do
Yeah,
that. So sometimes you have
totally.
to be that. And I apologize because I know that's probably not fun. But, we were standing there for like 10 minutes trying to figure out who's going to go where. Someone had to do
Yeah.
something. So sometimes you need that person. And I mean, that's just like a silly example. That's not like a job. And like, everybody got everywhere. I don't think anyone was mad at me. But my
Mm-hmm.
point is though, like, um, sometimes there needs to be that person, and there needs to be like someone who's kind of a hard taskmaster.
Of
And
course.
are we equating that to being like, is that who she is? And when you're, thinking about your own boss, is that who they are? You're kind of equating that to verbal be like, how do we know? Like, what is the line? So you guys tell us. I'm putting it on YouTube, and that'll be the question for Spotify. What is line? And I feel bad because like we didn't really come to a conclusion, but
Maybe
so
someone else will.
yeah, someone else tell us where your line. Where
Maybe
is your
our
line?
job, maybe our job is just getting the question out there and then being like, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
We do a lot of that.
yeah, no, seriously, like, okay, well, you guys tell us.
I don't know.
Okay, so we're gonna move on to our next story because technically we have like 3 stories left. But yeah, I guess we can just zoom through all 3. Okay, so sorry, I'm like talking out loud, everybody. Okay, the next story is brought to you by Evie Magazine. And I wanted to do this one because it kind of has a little bit of something to do with Freeman. Montana bans TikTok, but people believe this violates their free speech. Montana becomes the first state to prohibit TikTok, and with the ban taking effect next year, January 1st, but users say that this violation of the First Amendment. Greg
Gianforte.
Yep, has signed Senate Bill 419 this Wednesday, banning TikTok from operating within the state.
Gianforte.
Believes that the move is to, quote, protect Montanans' personal, private, and sensitive data, end quote, from being collected by China. The Chinese Communist Party, using TikTok to spy on Americans, violates their privacy and collects their personal, private, and sensitive information, is well documented. Today, Montana takes the most decisive action of any state to protect Montana's private data and sensitive personal information from being harvested by the Chinese Communist Party.
That's
According,
a quote. That's a quote
oh,
by Gianforte, by the
end
way.
quote,
That's not Evie Magazine's opinion.
end quote. Yes, you're right. According to the bill, quote, TikTok may not operate within the territorial jurisdiction of Montana and will prevent Apple and Google from offering the platform on their stores for download. Once in effect, the Montana Department of Justice can fine app stores or parent companies ByteDance up to $10,000 for each violation and an additional $10,000 for each day it continues. So, what are your thoughts? Do you think this is a violation of the First Amendment? Are you thinking that this is going to happen in other states? Like, what are you thinking?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty typical for Republicans to be tough on China, tough on Russia, right?
Yeah.
I don't think it's really surprising. I mean, I will say Montana wasn't really the first state that would have come to mind, but
No, mine neither. I was
definitely a
shocked.
red state. Definitely a red state.
Yeah.
I will say my initial thoughts, and mind you, I am not any kind of cybersecurity whiz. And I'm totally open to like other opinions, but just like my gut instinct is that like this is a good move. I
Okay.
think I think TikTok is dangerous. I think it's dangerous just like many other platforms, although most other platforms don't actively give intelligence to the Chinese government. As far as I know, again, I'm happy to be, discredited. But I don't think it's a violation of the First Amendment because it puts us at risk. I mean, you've heard me say it before and you'll hear me say it again. Our rights can be regulated when it puts people at risk. I don't think people understand like how serious um, China and their threats are. That's also a lot of money that like let's just talk about that they can be sued for $10,000 for each
Yeah.
violation, $10,000 each day it continues. That is wild. And also, CEO of TikTok said, "quote We will prevail against
I
this
did too. And I
Montana."
was a little bit like, okay. Is
So
it that serious?
dramatic.
Yeah, I was like, is it that serious? Like,
So back in March, episode 217, we discussed in depth why TikTok is a threat, but I will just I want to turn the narrative a little bit and say that TikTok actually um, disapproves of the First Amendment. TikTok actively
hmm.
takes away people's right to free speech. It is shady and it possesses everything pretty much in the app, anything that you upload. And that's obviously typical for an app, but not all apps, again, give data to the Chinese government. Companies are required to turn over all data and information they collect to the government instantly, whenever they are called to do so. They use this information to further spy on and spread propaganda about Americans. You can also make the argument that the app has taken down many posts that are deemed unfavorable to the Chinese Communist Party. Anything related to human rights violations, anything related to Chinese internment camps, Chinese protests, Chinese genocide. According to Wikipedia, in March 2020, internal documents leaked to The Intercept, some outlet, revealed that moderators had been instructed to suppress posts created by users deemed, quote, too ugly,
Oof.
poor,
Oof.
or disabled
Oof.
for the platform. So is that enough of a free speech violation for you?
Oof. Well, Freeman has spoken. She has given her opinion. Wow. I did not know that last. Well, I feel like I heard that last part. But like, through the grapevine. But this kind of, solidified that it's true.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's how I feel. What about you, Mallory? Do you feel like this is a free speech issue? Like, I mean, honestly, I could totally see people being like, you're censoring. That's a free speech violation.
I think this goes back to the do you legislate morality?
Oh
I
gosh, yes.
I don't know. So I don't feel as strongly about it as you do, or the state of Montana, or probably half of the people listening. I don't feel that strongly about it. Like, I don't know. I think that there are very good arguments for people not to be on it. I think that in 2023, it is hard not to, if you're running a business specifically, this is what I always go back to. Like, it's hard not to be on TikTok, for example. So the arguments I would say for TikTok would be, for example, I put some clips up there. I do some of my lifestyle content up there, and that's how we've gotten listeners for the podcast.
Totally.
There are people who are always talking about abortion in a positive light. I will post, the truth about abortion myself, and other organizations have done that. And it's like we need someone to balance it. I think that I wish, okay, I want to say TikTok came out in like 2018, right? 2019.
Really recent, yeah, something like that.
So I feel like if this conversation was had in 2018, 2019, it will be more beneficial. It'll be more it'll be more impactful. I just feel like it's too late now. Not only that, okay, everybody has to delete it from their phone January 1st. China's already gotten what they needed to get. Like, it's not, I don't know if that's going to really be beneficial. Maybe, 16-year-olds who've never had a phone before, they won't get their information, but I'm sure they'll have stuff from their friend that already had a phone, or their mom that posted a cool video of them when they were 6. So it's like, I don't know if it's really, I go back and forth whether it's beneficial or not. Is it a free speech violation? I don't think so. I think that these platforms need to decide, are they private or are they free speech? Because if they're privately owned, then you can take away, I think you can delete it. I think it's fine for Montana to say no more if it's like a private thing and it feels deemed a threat to national security. But if it's like public, like the town square, then no, they can't, like they shouldn't do that. So I think they should decide, is TikTok, is Facebook, is Instagram. Because that's another thing too, a lot of Republicans say, you can't censor me on Facebook and Instagram because it's the public square. Well, then if it's the public square, then can they delete TikTok? So I think that's another aspect of it. Personally, I think all of them are private. So I do think people have the right to decide if they don't want something on their platform. And this is I have had
Exactly.
I have this conversation with a couple people before about this. So websites like 4chan and 8chan, that are just total like who cares about free speech? Do you know what they mainly have on their sites? Pornography. They have people being incredibly disgusting, incredibly racist. They have all this stuff because it's free speech. It's free speech. Have this, have that, and that's just. I'm sorry. You have to
Damaging.
have. It's damage. Well,
Boundaries.
you
We
have
need
to have
boundaries.
boundaries. You need to. I'm sorry. I know people are like, well, you can't put. No. If you come
No,
into our app, well,
free
it
speech as absolutionists, is that what they're called?
maybe I don't know.
Free
Probably,
speech absolutists are getting it wrong.
yeah. Let me tell you, if you come on the app talking crazy, you're banned. Like
Yeah.
on our app, you're banned. Like, and I'm not gonna think twice about it. Like if it's my private thing that I own, you're not gonna come on there and say a bunch
For sure.
of crazy stuff. So. And everything is within reason. So, for example, and I'll use an example, Instagram. I feel as if we are shadow banned, and I absolutely hate that. I wish they would not do that, but I don't. They have every right
Yeah,
to do
you're
it.
right. You're
They have
absolutely
every
right.
right to do it. I hate it. I wish it was not. Follow us on
Yep.
Instagram if you're not following us. Share with all your friends. But they
Yep.
have every right because it's their platform. Once again, if you
Hmm.
come onto my platform acting crazy, talking crazy, you're not. You're banned.
Welcome.
You're
You're not
out.
welcome.
And I think that's. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
For sure.
All that to say, do I think it's a First Amendment violation? Not really, I guess not. I think their arguments are fair. I don't know, like
Yep.
I just don't feel very strongly like
Uh-huh.
we need TikTok. God, oh Lord, please let's have TikTok. Or no, we can't have TikTok. Down with the TikTok. I don't feel that way either. Like
Yeah.
I like if it gets deleted, then like I think I said this last time. If it gets deleted, honestly, thank God, because like I'm posted on like 6 different
It's a
platforms.
responsibility.
Yes, I'm posting to like 6 different platforms every day trying to get, our content out. So it'd be nice to have one less platform. Like, I'm okay with it. And it'll probably be good for the children, for the kiddos too. So I don't know, let us know what you guys think.
Let us
Um,
know.
so what I'm gonna do is we'll talk quick about Target and then we'll go straight to live action. What we're that. So, I'm gonna give a brief overview because we don't really have a story. I could not really find a story. So
Yeah.
we'll discuss it more, I think, next week. But I said I was gonna talk about it in a Facebook group I'm in. So, like, let me, I want to keep my promise.
Of
Um,
course.
so as you guys know, everyone is talking about what's going on with Target. Target is having, their pride displays, as well as some of the books that they have. They're just blatantly out there in front of everyone. And, you know, I actually, if I have time, I'm going to try to go to Target this weekend. I honestly don't, the more I think, I really don't go that much. There's a Target that's like maybe 10 minutes from me. And like, I don't know, like, I just don't go to Target like that. So I'm going to go see for myself. There's been a lot. So in doing, because I really want to talk about this because a lot of other people are talking about it. And I wanted to kind of like condense what is actually going on. Because you go onto Instagram every day and it's like a conservative influencer talking about this thing at Target, another talk about this thing at Target, another thing. Students for Life posted something about Target. So I'm like, okay, what is going on? Could not really find a condensed article that talked about it. And I did
Hmm.
start doing research because one of the things that was going around was that they had this thing for children tucking swimsuits. So I'm like, oh my goodness. Oh yeah. So we can't support that. Go ahead.
Can you explain tucking for the
Yes.
listeners?
Yes. So for those of you who are very blessed and you're not on social media all the time, you might not know what's going on. So, when someone is a pre-trans, they still have all of their parts. And if they want to wear women's clothes aren't made with a part to like kind of hide and like cushion, um, the male genitalia.
Genitals?
Yeah, the male genitalia. So, what you would need is something to help fix that. So apparently, Target has swimsuits that have a spot for that. So I saw all this stuff about they're doing it for children, for children, for children. So I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy for children. I personally have my own opinions on for adults. Once again, it goes back to legislate morality now. But anyway, but for children, okay, that's an absolute no, 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 no. Um, that's crazy. I'm thinking that's crazy. So I'm like trying to do research. Okay, okay. Literally everything I see, it says not for
Texting
children,
me,
not for
asking me to go
children.
to Target right now.
Yeah, I kind of was like, but I don't think you picked up on. You were like, yeah, I'll go this week, and in my head, I'm like, no, honey, I need you to go like right now. But oh, okay, okay, because I was like, I wanted to know like right there. I'm like, what is going on? Okay, so did more research, asked around. It turns out it's not for children. This is what the person told me, and I will do more research. I will go see for myself. They said that there is a pride section, and in the pride section it doesn't say adult and children, but there is a part where it has that, but like it says it's a medium for adults. Or no, it says it's a medium, so you're assuming it's for adults, but she said it's so small that it's obviously for children. I don't know if I believe that. If I'm being honest, like I don't know if I believe that. Not because I don't think Target is evil, or not because I don't think that some things, like I think we should have a level of skepticism, especially
Yeah.
when it comes to outrage. Like it actually is very like it was very upsetting to me that when I was googling, because that's what everyone is saying. Like they have this tuck stuff for children, they had tuck stuff, and when I googled it, everything said that's not true, and that's actually very
Yes.
upsetting for me as a consumer of conservative content, that like that's what people are running with if it's not true. I want to go see for myself. um Now other things that people were saying, they have the big display right when you walk in, and it has some things about gay and bi and trans and all this other stuff, and like they have shirts for kids and things like that. So I definitely understand being upset and outraged about that, because maybe you're not trying to have that conversation with your kid right away, right now, and you don't really want that like plastered everywhere. So
Sure.
I respect that. Like I understand being upset with that. Because if I were to walk in with my little cousins, I'd be like, ask your mama. I don't know. So I get
Yeah.
that. And kids are gonna ask like, oh, what's this? Um, why does this lady have a blah blah blah? So I get that. But I just want to make sure like when we're reporting on stuff, we're reporting on stuff that's the truth. The other aspect is Kristen Hawkins and Students for Life, they're posting about how there is a book. Let me just pull it up real quick. There was that's not the post. Okay. But there is a book or something um that is just like blatantly out with all of these um like abortion. Oh, help me get my just disgusting stuff too. That's another reason. And personally, I will be boycotting Target for the month of June. But once again, I'll admit, like I don't really go to Target like that, so it's not like it's gonna be a huge thing, but I will
Sure.
stand, because I do agree, like they shouldn't have that right when you walk in.
Mm-hmm.
It should not be right blatantly in the face, especially if you're not ready to have that conversation with your kids. So that's all my 2 cents on the Target situation. Hopefully there'll be like a full article and we can like break it down next week, but I didn't want to talk about it because I said I was going to. And Kramer, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, similar to just what you're saying and similar to our last conversation, like I do believe private companies do have a legal right to do just about what they want as long as they're not, of course, infringing on someone else's right. I think obviously abortion infringes on someone's right. I don't necessarily think that having a display infringes on someone's right. Obviously, I think it's uncomfortable. Obviously, I think it's weird. But I don't think it's something that legally any action needs to be taken place. I will want to say though that Target is one of the many companies that has posted about
And that's the other thing too. I'm like, it's like, first of all, Target has been doing stuff for years. A, B, Target's not the only company. I guess I think they're trying to like they as in like let's band together. Kind of what happened with the Bud Light thing. They're trying to say like, and we all do this one company and then we'll see what happens. And I mean, there have been reports of them taking down the display and moving it to the back. I think that's fine. I think that's great, because as consumer, like you were saying about private company do whatever you want, but as consumers,
yeah,
we have a voice. We have the right to
sure.
express, I like your shop, I enjoy your things. This I don't like about it. I'm letting you know. I will take my business elsewhere, and then they can respond how they feel as if they should respond.
What I was gonna say, and
Sorry.
that's true, that's all true. But I wasn't actually gonna go that route. I was
Oh,
actually gonna go towards, no, you're good. That was fair. I think it's also important to acknowledge that Target is one of the many companies that has claimed to voluntarily pay for employees' abortions. So
oh,
that's
I don't think I saw that.
genuinely where my concern is with Target, not so much any of the Pride stuff, which, like I said, it's weird. But I think that is so telling about an organization
Oh
that they would
wow.
rather pay for your $300 abortion than pay for maternity leave, right? Which one's cheaper? It's a
Yeah.
business move. It's not because they care about choice.
Right.
It's because they want the press and because they think it's a financial decision. So that's where my mind is right now with Target, and that's why I'm struggling with boycotting them, but I know it's right. I mean, go to Students for Life's Instagram and you can see all kinds of organizations that have promised to pay. I mean, the
Is
list
that
goes
the
on
link
and
that I
on.
post? I did post the link, and I'm like
That's
looking
the
at
link
them.
you posted,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. Oops. That was not the right link, but that's good to know. And here's the thing, like, and I just also want to add last thing, and then we'll do our last story. I just want to add like if you cannot boycott everything, I want you to know like you're not getting any shame or you're not getting
Totally.
any like anything from us about that. Like if you can't, you can't. In the Facebook group I'm in, some people were saying how like their child only takes a certain type of formula that is only
Mhm.
from Target or something like that. I'm
Mhm.
like, girlfriend, don't starve your child for a month
Totally.
just trying to, have the moral high ground. Do what you have to do. Go
I
ahead.
will say, just as we would expect pro-lifers to boycott Planned Parenthood, we expect pro-lifers to boycott CVS and Walgreens because they are Planned Parenthood. Just
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. It's
Yeah.
different to like make a statement about abortion than to literally provide your customers with abortifacients.
The product
That's
that actually
different.
like causes it. And I will also say like um and another difference between like the bud because on Twitter, those of you who aren't in the middle of this, thank God. And I don't you don't have a Twitter, right, Freeman? You don't have a
Correct.
Twitter. Yeah, so you don't see all the stuff going on. People are like, "Well, women, this is your time. We stood up against Bud Light and look at what happened with Bud Light." Okay, a drink that you can literally get at the exact same thing in a different cup anywhere
Mhm. Mhm.
or Target that has specific brands that people
Yeah.
need. And apparently like some Targets, some people they only have Target as their local grocery store. So, I mean,
Mm.
like what are you I mean,
Totally.
it's
Yeah, of
two completely
course.
I think it's two completely different things. Now if it was like a product, like we're no longer buying uh pink
CoverGirl.
mugs. Wait, what'd you say?
I said like CoverGirl, something like that.
Cover girl. Yeah, well I was thinking of just a we're no longer buying teacups, like something specific. I feel like
Oh,
that's a little bit that makes more sense. Like, or it I think is a little bit more feasible. Like Target, if
yeah,
you can, my point is, no judgment from us if you can't boycott.
of
I think that
course.
it's if you
I love
can,
that
you
you said that.
should. I think if you can, you should, but no judgment if you can't. And even we said this with the CVS. I think you should boycott CVS, but if it's literally the only pharmacy for like 80 miles and you need your
Yes.
asthma or your asthma medication once a week, please, like, eh,
Yeah.
go ahead and do it. Voice your
Yeah.
concerns,
Sure.
but get it. Don't kill yourself over it because
Of
that
course.
then you can't help with the movement. Anyway, that's all
Of
we're gonna say
course.
about Target this week. Last story, super quick. I'm sure everybody has seen it. We just kind of want to talk about it, and then we have like a closing on that. So this is brought to you by Live Action. A teen faces first-degree murder charges for dumping newborn in hospital trash. A 19-year-old in New Mexico is facing a charge of first-degree murder with the alternative of child abuse resulting in death, as well as a charge of tampering with evidence after a full-term baby reportedly born at 38 weeks was found dead in a hospital garbage bag.
Oh my gosh.
Alexi Treviso allegedly went to Artesia General Hospital in late January complaining of back pains. She denied being pregnant, but the lab work run by doctors showed she was. While at the hospital, Treviso locked herself in the bathroom for an extended period of time, according to KOB4. After she returned from the bathroom, a member of the custodial staff found a large blood spill in the bathroom and said the trash can was heavier than it should have been. She called two nurses for assistance, and the nurses found the baby in the trash. When questioned by doctors, she claimed that the baby wasn't breathing when he was born, and she didn't know what to do because he wasn't crying, so she put him in the trash. And the body cam footage, I think this is what everybody has seen. And this is
Mhm.
like, oh, this is so sad. She says, quote, "I'm sorry it came out of me and I didn't know what to do. I was just scared. It was not crying or nothing." End quote. When her mother asked, "Why did you do it?" she said, "It came out of me. I put it in the bag, in the trash bag. I'm sorry, Mom." Investigators found that the baby was born alive and died shortly after birth, likely due to suffocation from being in the trash bag. An autopsy in March ruled his death a homicide, and she was arrested for murder on May 10th. This is so sad. I remember the first time I watched the video on Twitter, so it's been going around Twitter for maybe a little bit less than a week, and
Mm.
it's actually like almost made me cry. There's a lot of emotions going on for it
Yeah.
because,
Yeah.
I mean, she murdered a child,
Mhm.
and she did not, in the video, she does not sound like she really has remorse for that murder. And she kept calling it, which is trying
Mm.
to disassociate from the baby, like,
Mhm.
and I don't think she fully realized like what she did. And I think that goes to education. Why we do a lot of things that we do is for this education. Girls are being told it's a clump of cells, it's not real. Oh, if they don't breathe, it's not. Girls are being told that. So of course they're gonna have such a callous like reaction to it. Cause that's what
Yeah.
they're being told. That's what they've been told their whole life. Planned Parenthood comes in like fifth grade, explains to them X, Y, and Z. All right, that's what they're told their whole life. So
Yeah.
there's not a, they're not going to get it. She's not, and I don't think I still don't think she gets it. Like at least in the video,
Yeah.
look, she got it. So
Yeah.
that was a part of it. It's also sad because to me, I think she did know she was pregnant. I think she was upset. She was mad that all that stuff happened and that's how she reacted. So like that's crazy. And to be honest,
Mm.
and I don't want to like blame the mom. I'm not blaming the mom at all, but I think the mom knew too. Like the way she was talking in the video, she's like,
Yeah.
"I told you, we've talked about this." So then, what if you didn't know? What? Why would you bring that up to her? Like, you just randomly talk about what happens if you kill your child. So anyway, so those are my thoughts, and I don't like. I have sadness for this girl if she does not repent. I have sadness for her if she doesn't understand, come to the weight of the knowledge of like what she's done, and she's not sorry about, like, that's the part I have sadness for her. But like just so callously, and the idea of putting it in the trash can. There's times where people have unfortunately murdered their child and they'll wrap it in a blanket and then they'll place it somewhere to be found. And that's wrong too. But like that is a sign of remorse. That's a sign of like, oh, this is so
Mhm.
sad.
Yeah.
When you put a baby in a trash can, that's a sign of like, oh, this is disgusting. Get me out. Like you don't put.
Yeah.
I mean,
This
we
is
don't even.
garbage. This
Right.
this human being is garbage
We don't even put
to be
like
disposed.
people don't even put like their dead fish in trash can most of the time. Like that's like not to be well, I guess I lighten the mood, but like I've never thrown away
Right.
my fish if my fish has died.
Right.
And when I was younger, I remember burying it in the backyard. So like,
Oh.
so like that's like the trash is just such a terrible thing. But this once again, this goes back to like if you don't value life, this is kind of the next like. Of course, I'll just throw it in it's inconvenient for me. I'll just put it in the trash can. And that's just so. And then the 38 weeks is so crazy. And like, how do you not know? Even though there's also this video going around about this woman who was in labor and she found out she was having a baby. It's on Twitter. So I don't know how that happens. I feel like it's not as common as they want us to make it think. Want to make us think. But anyway, like, how do you not 38 weeks? That's so crazy. Anyway, those are my thoughts. Freeman, what are yours?
No, I love how you're making this connection between the dehumanization
Yeah, because that's what
um
it
of
is.
children. Like I guess I didn't think about it that way. Maybe she has heard the narrative that you're you can be unpregnant.
Right.
Like, and it didn't happen. It doesn't happen. There was nothing to mourn, nothing to be sad about, nothing. It just didn't happen. Like, I think that's such a great connection, Mallory. Um, I think like also like if you look at this mugshot, like the girl looks so young. She's
I
beautiful.
know.
She
She's
looks
so young.
she looks terrified. Like I like to think that she knew that this was a child. I mean, she said it wasn't breathing like human beings breathe. Like, so
That's
I think
true.
she knew. I think there was like a connection being made, but of course she was in denial. I think she knew she was pregnant, but she was also in denial. I think you can be both of those things. I think she certainly wasn't thinking straight. I just wish she would have told someone. I mean, she
Yeah.
literally was in a hospital with nurses and doctors all around. Like, it does not it doesn't make sense, and I get that she was freaked out. I can't imagine how freaked out you must be, especially if you really didn't know you were pregnant. Like, and then you start going into labor. How scary would that be?
Yeah.
That's obviously no excuse. I think I hope she's screened for mental illness. I hope that she is taken to some kind of therapy because, and I hope also that like the housekeeper and like these nurses get like
Oh,
lifetime therapy
yeah. I
because
cannot
like
imagine.
the toll that not only did this take on her, her child, her mom, but also like probably everyone in that hospital is like freaking out right now. I mean, so I just worry for them, their well being. Like, this has such a ripple effect, and it makes me think about safe haven laws. Like, this could have been avoided. She
Absolutely.
could have given birth. She could have sought medical care. She was literally getting medical
I
care.
was gonna
Like,
say, like, she could have just been given birth and be like, I can't do this, and they would have been like, okay, fine. We got
she
some.
can leave. Like, you
Yeah.
legally can leave your unborn child at the hospital.
Yeah. She was already,
You,
that's the thing that gets, she was already there. She was
exactly.
already, she didn't even have to get up and move someplace. She was already there.
Exactly. So, I also like I'm wondering how the mom is doing. Like I can't imagine
I
my
cannot
daughter
imagine.
doing that to my grandchild. I mean, how confusing and complicated and complex those emotions might be. But we really should talk about safe haven laws because like we said, this could have been avoided. You can leave for those who don't know. You can leave. And not that this is an ideal situation at all. Not that we are saying this like easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like
No,
it is traumatic. It is
for all
courageous. Like,
people involved.
yes. But there are laws to prevent this kind of thing from happening. Safe haven laws encourage women who are considering abandonment, or they might have to resort to abandonment. They're encouraging them to leave their child, your newborn, and in North Carolina, up to 7 days, with a public official. You can leave your child at a fire station, at a hospital. Like, you do not have to resort to this. Women, you do not have to resort to abandonment because no one wants to be in the position that Miss Treviso is in right now.
Yeah. And you don't have to. Like, there's also the baby boxes. There's also baby box. I don't think we have any in North Carolina yet, but I know there's some in Florida. There's some in Connecticut. There are so many options. You do not have to resort to murder. You
What's a
do.
baby box? I've never heard of this.
Um. So the baby boxes are they're attached to they're attached to like buildings. I want to say fire stations, things like that, and you pull the lever, you put the baby in, and then there's an alarm that comes off, and someone comes racing and takes the baby, and
Wow.
there's no like repercussion. I
No
don't even.
question.
Yeah, I don't
No,
think they
it can
even
be
ask.
totally anonymous.
Yeah, safe haven baby boxes. And I can link the website to that, and it's just like I don't know if you can like see.
Got it.
They're like
Yeah.
attached to the building, and you just put the baby in, and someone comes immediately. Um, to wrap it up, we want to read a story about a positive, happy, safe haven baby. And like, I also want to emphasize, as I've done more research into pro life and like into being pro life and like why I believe what I believe, like what actually is the definition of family? What is the definition of why does it even matter to care for humans? Um, I've really been my opinions on a lot of things have changed. I'm 110% pro adoption and foster care. I do
Yep.
really think, I do also want to add that, like, it is really good if a child can be with their parents. If their parents can
It's
get the help that
ideal.
they need, like reunification is super important. I just felt the need to add that. Like
Of
safe
course.
haven stuff is so important as well. Like we really need that. But I do think we also should be like we should be also pro unification. I think sometimes we like resort to adoption because it feels like easier, but like, just the more information I'm learning, I'm like, if we could do reunification. Anyway, I want to add this about Safe Haven Baby. This is about Riley. She was a safe haven baby, and here this is from uh, saveabandonedbabies.org. Being a safe haven baby makes 8-year-old Riley feel awesome and strong. With much charm and confidence, Riley says, quote, "When I first knew I was a safe haven baby, I thought that what when I first knew I was a safe haven baby, I thought that was one special kid." Oh, that kind of doesn't make sense, but whatever. She's 8.
No, it doesn't. Well, that's what kids do, right? They don't
Right.
make sense.
Right. End quote. Cheryl, Riley's mom, said that she hadn't heard of the safe haven law until the one life-changing call she and her husband received while adopting a baby. Cheryl remembers, quote, "They had a baby who was relinquished in Chicago at a hospital, and they had called our adoption agency to place the child, and we were chosen from an adoption agency to be that family. So that was my first experience hearing about safe haven laws, which was enacted 9 years before she was born." Riley happens to be Illinois' 64th baby saved because her biological mother knew about and chose to relinquish her to a designated safe haven facility. Quote, "If I had Riley's birth mom here to talk, I would have nothing but thanks to her and amazing courage it takes to do that. Ultimately, I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right choice for them to make," Riley's dad said. Both of Riley's parents say that because of the woman's decision to relinquish her child, their family was made complete when Riley was born. Additionally, they say that everything about her, everything about who she is, makes her another one of their daughters that was just, quote, meant to be. Gracie and Mackenzie, Riley's two 15-year-old sisters, wholeheartedly agree. Gracie says she's pretty fun. She's very outgoing and loud and has a lot of energy. That is so funny about the loud thing. Shell remembers the time prior to Safe Haven laws being enacted. It was heart-wrenching. You'd watch the news and you hear about babies left in garbage cans, babies left in front porches, or hiding in bushes, and most of the time they would die. Since the country's first safe haven law was enacted in 1999, the National Safe Haven reports 3,524 newborns were legally relinquished using safe haven. 1,397 newborns were illegally relinquished, and 773 newborns were found deceased, and 462 newborns were found alive. So I mean, 3,524 plus 1,397 compared to 773 that have died.
Right.
These are great numbers. Cheryl wishes more expectant mothers who find themselves in a crisis situation knew about the option. And then I'll just link this. It's a happy story that baby Riley has found, well, I guess she's not a baby. Child Riley has found a forever family, and I think that's beautiful, and these are good positive things, and we should end on that note. Do you have anything you want to
Amen.
add?
No, again, it's not like it's an easy decision. We're not at
Right.
all saying that adoption or this safe haven law is an easy decision, but if you feel genuinely like you might have to resort to abandonment, this is an option.
Yes. Yeah. Or if you feel like you might have to resort to murder, this is the best option if it
Of
needs to be.
course.
This is the best option. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the show, make sure you rate, like, review, subscribe, leave comments, answer questions on the Spotify. Tell all your friends. Let us know what you think about the questions we asked earlier that I can't remember at this time. Thank you guys so much. Sorry, this has gone way over, but that's okay. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you have a great day, night, evening, however, wherever you're listening. Bye.
Bye-bye.